Martin Lecián was born in October 1900 in Uherski, Ostro. He was a product of a system that manufactured desperate men. Raised by an abusive, alcoholic father who allegedly lost him in a card game, and a mother who died in a psychiatric asylum, Lecián was funneled straight into a youth reformatory until age 18. He later said the reformatory was where he received his true education, a master class in crime. Drafted into the military, he deserted 5 times. It was after his final desertion that he met Marie Chernowska. Together, they became a 1920s Moravian Bonnie and Clyde, embarking on a massive safe-cracking spree. Lecián had a unique method. Most safecrackers dealt with the suffocating ash dust packed inside the safe walls, but Lecián had severe tuberculosis. Inhaling that dust would kill him. So, he learned to destroy the lock mechanism directly through the thin outer casing. It was brilliant, but it left a distinct signature. That signature got him caught. Detained with Krenovska in Prostayov, Lecián's worsening tuberculosis got him transferred to a hospital in Olomouc. But Lecián had no intention of dying in a hospital bed. On December 10, 1926, he and a dangerous fellow inmate named Veselí broke out, violently injuring 2 guards in the process. The 2 escapees soon split up, Veselí fleeing to Slovakia and Lecián staying in Moravia. He was now a fugitive, armed and running out of time. The moment a thief becomes a killer is a point of no return. For Lecián, that hinge point came on January 19, 1927, in Slavkov u Brna. Interrupted during a burglary by municipal police officer Rudolf Hanak, Lecián didn't run. He drew his Mauser 1910 pistol and shot Hanak 4 times. The next day, he attempted to murder a shop owner and another gendarme. By mid-February, he murdered a night guard, František Marchik, in Jihlava. The safecracker was gone. The serial cop killer had arrived. The manhunt intensified. Recognized on a train by Gendarme Shilhavi, Lecián engaged in a wild shootout before leaping from the moving train into the night. The state was furious. A massive 10,000 koruna reward was slapped on his head. Lecián, now the most wanted man in the country, began wearing wigs and disguises. But something strange was happening. The more he shot at the police, the more the public seemed to love him. This is where the story of Martin Lecián stops being a standard true crime case and becomes a bizarre cultural phenomenon. The Czechoslovak press dubbed him Postrach Moravy, the terror of Moravia. But on the streets, he was treated like a modern-day Robin Hood. Street musicians sang ballads about the gallant safecracker. Rumors spread that he only robbed the rich, that he slept in luxury hotels, that he was a perfect gentleman to women. It was a myth, of course. He gave nothing to the poor, but in a society struggling with post-war economic hardship and a deep resentment of authority, the public projected their fantasies onto a man who was, in reality, just a desperate, dying thief with a gun. And the terrifying part? Lecián started reading his own press. He started believing the legend. But myths shatter when they hit reality. On March 8, 1927, in Veselí, nad Moravou, Lecián was stopped for a routine check by gendarme Sergeant Antonin Stukli. Lecián shot him dead. Stukli wasn't a faceless symbol of the state. He was a young man, newly married, and his wife was expecting their first child. You cannot romanticize a widow and a fatherless baby. The ballads stopped. The public romance died overnight. The folk hero was finally seen for what he was. The net closed in. After shooting another sergeant and being wounded in a shootout near Polishovice, Lecián's luck finally ran out. On April 23, 1927, in Novi Bohumin, two civilian officers, Halij and Kaluja, cornered him in a pub. The terror of Moravia was captured. The trial was a media circus, but the man in the dock was a disappointment to his fans. He wasn't a dashing rogue. He was a frail, coughing 26-year-old who claimed he couldn't remember his crimes. After a 4-month investigation and a 6-day trial, the verdict was delivered on September 3, 1927. Expulsion from the army, forfeiture of weapons, and death by hanging. What does it say about a society when it turns a cop killer into a folk hero? The Lecián case is a mirror. The public didn't cheer for Martin Lecián the man. They cheered for a fictional character created by the press and street singers. They cheered for rebellion. But media glorification has a body count. When a killer realizes he has an audience, the violence becomes a performance. The tragedy of Martin Lecián is that the applause drowned out the gunshots until the blood spilled too close to home. Lecián had one last desperate act left. President Mauser was known to oppose the death penalty and routinely granted clemency. Lecián likely would have lived. But on September 25th, he and a fellow inmate, Kashbajik, attempted a violent prison break. During the chaos, Lecián murdered prison guard Ferenc Kiss. That bullet cost him his life. Clemency was denied. On October 6, 1927, at 6 a.m., state executioner Leopold Wohlschlager placed the noose around Lecián's neck, ending a 39-year career for the executioner and ending the life of the terror of Moravia. The man was dead, but the myth proved harder to kill. In the years that followed, imitators like František Ondráš and Josef Prekop tried to claim Lecián's bloody mantle, tracing his roots and killing in his name, before meeting their own violent ends. The ghost of the gallant safecracker haunted Moravia long after the real man was buried in an unmarked grave. Next time on Cold Block, two boys skating on the frozen Vltava find a tailor named Josef Stepan, legs frozen straight out of the ice. A man who, according to the investigation, died 5 different ways.